And right now we're in the Hollywood Hills.
Yes, we just drove down Hollywood Boulevard and we saw like the Walk of Fame and it was so cool. Finally the same height as you. Yay!
It only takes a rail and a balcony. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
A rail and a balcony. In a hotel in LA. In the middle of nowhere somewhere. Arizona, Utah, I don't know. But we're in the middle of some canyon. There's a river down. What's wrong with you?
There's something on my foot.
Something's biting Brittany's foot. She didn't bring any shoes, folks. She brought sandals to come to the We're in the Rockies. Rocky Mountains.
I didn't think about needing closed-toed shoes, okay? It is July.
We're grizzly
okay?
bears,
People wear
mountain
flip-flops in
lions.
July.
Alright, so we are currently, right now, driving on Route 66.
Historic Route 66.
Historic Route 66.
On this edition of On the Map, we began a new series in Columbia, South Carolina, with an overnight stay at one of Columbia's award-winning accommodations, a sneak peek inside the historic South Carolina State House, and wrapping it up with a meal at the Oak Table before spending some time at Congaree National Park.
I'd say the spirit of Columbia is its strong sense of community. The businesses all support each other, everyone's on the same team, the restaurants all work together at different events, and it's just, you can see collaboration everywhere.
There's just so much happening, and walking down the street, you can feel that energy, that buzz in the air.
From bow ties to a booming craft beer scene, the capital has it all. Welcome to Columbia, South Carolina. The capital is the nucleus of the city of Columbia, and as such, finding it in the heart of downtown is by no means difficult.
The South Carolina State House offers great in-depth tours that are open to the public.
And we are about to take one of those tours right now. Can you tell us a little bit about what goes on here?
Well, from January until June, our lawmakers are here, the House of Representatives, and of course our South Carolina Senate. Of course, the governor's office is located in this building, as well as the lieutenant governor's office.
And you give tours here.
We give tours every day, including Saturdays. We don't give tours on Sunday, but our tours are provided to the public every day of the week except for Sundays. We're going to begin our tour today. This is our South Carolina Senate chamber. In South Carolina, we have 46 senators. And these 46 senators today are apportioned based on population. Every 10 years, of course, every state in the country, our nation as a whole, has a census. And according to our 2010 data, South Carolina's population was about 4.7 million people. So that would mean these senators today represent a little over 100,000 citizens per Senate district. Now, these senators continue to exercise a lot of the protocol of our British past. As you know, we do have quite a history with Great Britain. The fact that I'm even speaking English suggests that England has played a tremendous role, of course, in American and South Carolina history. And one of the things that happens in this body is that as they begin their session, our Sergeant-at-Arms, Mr. Melton, he takes our state sword. Our state sword is a very valuable artifact, certainly in this building. It dates back to this particular sword to 1951. It was actually a gift from Great Britain, but he takes our state sword, which is in a locked case here behind the lower podium, and he leads the lieutenant governor into this chamber. And now as they enter the room, the lieutenant governor finds his position there behind the upper podium, and the sword is placed in a rack below there, which signifies that our senators are now ready to begin their session. The lights on either side will turn on the rostrum that you see above. As they begin their voting process, continuing that British tradition, our senators respond by simply saying aye if they agree, no if they disagree. Well, this building is actually the third state house here in South Carolina. Our first state capitol, of course, was for the colony of Carolina in Charleston in the early 1700s. But as, of course, people moved inland and began to take advantage of our very wide rivers here in South Carolina, as more and more people moved into the upstate area, the upstaters became very politically active as well, but didn't think it was fair that they had to travel all the way down to Charleston to take care of their legislative business. So around 1786, a plan was made to find a more centralized location for the second state capital, and this is the region that was chosen. But this building certainly wasn't that building at the time. The first state house was a wooden structure sat about where the northwestern corner of this existing structure sits today. But that building, of course, as they began working in that building, the fear was that it wasn't fireproof, being a wooden structure. So around the mid-1800s, plans were made to build a more fireproof building, and this is the result of that. Now, they began in 1855, but the building wasn't finished until 1907, 52 years later. War, of course, and then poverty after the war further delayed construction on this particular building. Okay, here we have our South Carolina House of Representatives. In this body, we have 124 members that are elected every 2 years. Now, in this body, as you can see, these desks look a little different than our senators' desks. As of the 1990s renovation in this building, over $50 million was spent to give this building a little facelift during that time. And for 4 years, our lawmakers, as well as all the furnishings and all the decor of this building, was removed from this particular structure so that we could do some very much needed repairs. And one of the things that happened during that time is that this room was wired for electronic voting. When our lawmakers begin their session in this body, each lawmaker has a card about the size of a driver's license that's programmed with his or her personal information. And at each desk, there's a slot that they can insert the card that activates a computer. You'll see a series of 4 buttons at each desk, and on these large screens on either side, all the names of our lawmakers, their names will be in bright orange lights in alphabetical order. Now, as that card is inserted, they now can very simply, in a very time-efficient process, simply press yay if they agree with the legislation. Their name will turn from orange to green. If they press the nay button, their name turns red. Each desk is wired with a microphone, a retractable microphone. This is another means of that efficiency, in that lawmakers now can ask a question or participate in the discussion without having to take the time to go back and forth from the lower podium there. They can simply stay at their desks. Initially, when these buttons were implemented, the S was intended to ask permission from the Speaker of the House to speak. But these members, like the senators, continue that traditional simply just standing to be recognized, and if they are called on by the Speaker of the House, then they have a microphone that they can address the chamber with their members. Now, this body, by the way, unlike the Senate, is not divided by political party. These members sit by what we call legislative delegations. They sit geographically in areas in this body similar to where they would live within the state, the geographic regions of our state. For example, right now, as I said, these are 2-year terms. When they come back in January, they'll still be in the second session of that term that they're existing in. Right now, the Myrtle Beach area sits in this corner over here. The Greenville delegation is over in this area. Now, beginning in 2017, they'll literally draw a name out of a hat, and they'll begin again by choosing where that delegation will sit for the next session. If you're not from South Carolina, you probably aren't aware of this. South Carolina has significant seismic activity. So underneath this structure, this building's approximately 76,000 square feet in area, but engineers during that time placed what they call seismic isolators throughout the underbelly of this structure. A seismic isolator is literally a device that it's like 2 giant cement slabs that are connected by these huge shock absorber devices. But in addition to that, a trench was completed. It was dug completely around this building, about 13 feet deep and 4 feet wide, that in concept isolates this structure from the east, north, west, south of this building, so that if the earth moves, because this earth is isolated from that earth, that it will remain somewhat stable. If it does experience some kind of problem during an earthquake, the isolators hopefully would kick in and compensate for any of that damage. One of the significant reasons for having those isolators, of course, is to not only protect the history of this building, but to protect artifacts like our state mace that you see there in the glass case, like the state sword over in the Senate. Our state mace is the symbol of authority here in this body. And like the state sword, our state Sergeant-at-Arms for the House takes the mace and places it in the racks. Again, that symbolizes that this body is now in session. The lights on either side of the rostrum turn on, and then they begin their voting process using that electronic process that I mentioned before. Our state mace, I have to remind people, it dates back to colonial times, as I mentioned, 1756. We purchased it for 90 guineas from Mother England. And from what I understand from our British visitors, that would be worth about $14,000 today, which again is evidence that $14,000 in no way could ever replace the value of our state mace. It's invaluable. It is priceless in terms of the history of this building.
Enough history lines the walls here to keep your interest piqued for the entirety of the tour. From the history to the political science lesson and the crash course in engineering ingenuity, your time is certainly well spent.
This mosaic was designed by the Belcher Glassworks Company, and it is original to the building in 1907. It has over 37,000 pieces of glass, about the size of a fingernail. As you can see, it has some Latin inscription here. This Latin is also found on either side of the mosaic in our state seal. These particular words, animus opibusque parate, simply translate to mean that we are prepared in mind and resources here in South Carolina. But also on our state seal you'll find our state motto, which reads Dum Spiro Spero, which simply means while I breathe, I hope. A really wonderful message to leave all of our visitors with as they tour the beautiful State House of South Carolina.
There's no better way to process that wealth of knowledge than with lunch at the Oak Table, conveniently located right across the street from the front steps of the State House.
So the Oak Table opened up September 17th, 2012. We'll be celebrating our 3-year anniversary this coming month, actually. It's September now, yeah, it's this month. And we're excited about it, going strong and everything. The concept of the Oak Table is farm to table. We try and keep everything as local and organic as possible. Local in the restaurant industry is a relative term. It's technically within 300 miles of your location, but we try and obviously keep it closer than that. A lot of our fish comes out of Cherry Point, North Carolina, or even down in Charleston, Edisto Island area. And then all of our produce actually comes right here from Columbia. City Roots and our other purveyors are very helpful with all that Fresher Grown Farms and Heritage Farms as well. And we just like to keep it local, like to keep it fresh. Our clientele is business oriented, but we also have a very nice casual lunch that you got to experience today. And our brunch scene is very, very casual as well. It's really, really nice. The dinner is a little more on the fine dining aspect of things. We are considered fine dining, but we do have some lower tier things, lower item cost-wise, I should say, that are still delicious and fantastic. Our executive chef Todd Woods does a great job putting things together that just like everyone will really like.
Yeah, I hear y'all got a lot of great desserts.
Oh yes, oh yes. Our dessert menu is fantastic. Our mainstays are the butterscotch bread pudding and our deconstructed s'mores. Those have been on the menu since the beginning and won't go anywhere because we would have riots if they did. But the butterscotch bread pudding is my favorite. I am a little biased though. I don't love chocolate. So.
I don't either. So I'd probably have to go with you on that, man. It sounds good. So then you're locally grown. Did I hear something about y'all grow some of your herbs out front here?
We do. We try and so we have an herb garden out on our patio. The patio's gorgeous, right across the street from the State House. So great scenery and everything, great feel. When it's a little cooler out on these Columbia days, you can sit out on the patio. But we have our herbs out there. We grow peppers, basil, thyme, mint, and spearmint. We have a little bit of oregano out there as well. But we try and keep everything there. The bar actually uses a majority of it for our fresh cocktails. Yeah, it's really, really nice. The springtime is probably one of the favorite cocktails, and it's got fresh thyme in it. A little bit of spring juice, and then of course some mint leaves. It's all muddled together straight from our garden. It's really, really great.
That is interesting, man.
It's really nice.
So then you're open Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. Lunch Monday through Friday from 10:30 to 2. Sorry, 11:30 to 2.
Okay, so just lunch.
And then dinner from 5 to 10.
And then the brunch.
Sunday brunch is from 10:30 to 2. That's what the brunch is. And then Saturday night at 5 to 11.
Thanks very much for speaking with me, Brian.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
I had a great time here, and you should come out to the Oak Table.
Come out and see us.
When you think fashion, you probably think New York City. But designer Annabelle LaRoque proves with her success that it's all about creative style and determination. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Can you tell us a little bit about your line?
Sure. So I have had my business now for 8 years. I did pharmaceutical sales right out of college, and then started sewing and decided I would quit my job and just make skirts for my friends and family. And I started off in a really small space, actually just over here. And then every year we've just expanded. Now we sell to over 40 stores along the southeast. Last year I did a collection for Belk. So here in the shop you can buy off the rack, or you can also have a custom garment made where you come in and we take your measurements and you can pick out the fabric.
And you handmade all the clothes when you first opened.
I did.
What was that like?
Well, it was really stressful. I would sell all day long, and then at night I would put a curtain up over the window over there and work on the orders that I had taken that day. So now, thank goodness that I have a good team of people that help me create the garments.
Have you been interested in fashion your whole life, or?
No, actually I haven't. I grew up in a really creative family. My mom was always gardening and cooking, and we didn't have cable, so we were always encouraged to be creative. So I think that this obviously is just an outlet for my creativity. I think when people think about La Roque, they think about preppy, classic pieces, kind of with a modern twist. So it might be a mini skirt, like from the 60s, but maybe a more fun print, like an animal print, or a shift dress might have a fun lining on the inside or a fun hem. So classic with a little twist.
And which is your favorite to design?
Whatever I'm working on at the moment. This is our classic Eleanor wrap top. This is one of our most classic styles. It's great for mother of the bride, mother of the groom. You can have it made in a lot of different colors. We sell a lot of this top because it just looks great on everyone. Then here we have one of our newest styles. This is a little shift dress with a razorback bra. It's got pockets. So this is kind of our modern twist on a classic style. And then when it comes to children's clothing, each season comes very fast. So we've almost already sold out of our little Christmas dresses, and it's still August, because every parent wants to plan for Christmas and make sure they have that perfect dress ready for their Christmas cards. So we're always one season ahead in retail.
So I know a lot of independent lines only make like 2 or 3 sizes. How does your line work?
So we make up to size 10, and then if someone needs a 14 or a 16, we'll just make something custom for them. Well, yesterday was 8 years in business, and if you would have asked me any point along that line if I would have thought we'd be where we are now, I just, every year something new, a new opportunity presents itself. In October we're going to market for our spring 2016 wholesale collection, so I anticipate getting new stores along the southeast to pick up the line. So when I became pregnant with my daughter, I just started making little dresses for her when I was expecting her, and then friends and family were just like, oh, well, you should create a children's line. So now that my daughter is 1.5 years, we offer a good deal of children's clothes, both for little girls and little boys, newborn through age 6. And just like the adult collection, we only have a limited number of each garment in each size. And we also do trunk shows along the southeast with the children's collection, which is really fun. We just got back from Merle's Inlet, so it's fun to travel and meet new moms who are interested in something a little different for their children.
How often do you put out new designs?
We have new designs each season, but we of course have our staples that we've been selling for 8 years that just are kind of like tried and true, and those are things that like Southern Living is featured, and just kind of go-to staples that we think every woman needs in their wardrobe.
About a 45-minute drive outside of the downtown area of Columbia is a place that allows you to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and greets you with the tranquil, relaxing sounds and beautiful scenery that you can only find through nature. Congaree National Park is a one-of-a-kind place to experience, and we get the full treatment by getting a tour with the Chief of Interpretation.
Deer and coyotes, so it's a wild place. It's about 26,000 acres, so quite a bit of territory for the animals to roam.
And for people who are scared of any of these animals, have
Yeah.
you ever had any attacks?
No, actually, sometimes people are often, and that's a great question, because the thought of coming into such a wild place, for some people that's exciting, but for a lot of people, it's natural to have a little bit of fear, or maybe a little bit, maybe thinking about it a little bit. But no, the animals that are here, we really don't have anything that's necessarily dangerous. We do have things like venomous snakes, and we have insects, things like ticks that can cause problems. But generally speaking, as a visitor to the park, you're in no danger as a human, for sure. This was actually dedicated as a national monument back in 1976, and it was designated as Congaree Swamp National Monument. But there was a movement afoot to make this a national park, and that designation as a national park was made in 2003. And part of that was because while Congaree is known locally as a swamp, it really is a floodplain, and there's a difference. This is a forest that's really dynamic and changing, so I think a lot of the folks that wanted to change it to national park wanted to capture the essence, and certainly with the vastness and the wildness and the large trees and the old growth forest, this is just a phenomenal place as a national park. Probably one of my favorite things, and most of us that work here will say this, is being able to share this special place with all the visitors that come. It's really neat when little kids come and when families come, we kind of open their eyes to the ecosystem and the forest that's here. It's beautiful. We have a boardwalk trail, 2.5 miles of boardwalk that takes you right into the wilderness, and you don't even have to, it's really easy walking. For those people that want the wild experience and to truly experience the remoteness and the wildness that this park has, we have a number of trails that get you out into the more remote areas. We actually have trails that are marked that you can paddle, and it's just a really neat experience to do that. And several times a year, the Congaree River will slowly start to flood as the rains come in, and through a series of channels into the forest, the water will spill into the forest, and this bottomland forest becomes a wetland. And when that happens, it springs to life. If you live here, if you're a plant or an animal that lives here, you have to adapt to those conditions. And not only do these plants and animals adapt, but they thrive on it. And without that water, they couldn't survive. So water's the lifeblood wherever you are. But here at Congaree, I can't think of a place where it's more apparent than here. Here's a real good example of how the water, the channels that I was talking about, these channels feed this forest, and when the water first starts to back up, this is where you're going to see it first. And then after a heavy rain, you'll often see these channels will be the route that the water takes to the local creeks and streams. But these channels, even though they're dry now, are the first to become really, really wet areas as the water begins to come back in. Once the area floods, you'll see water throughout the forest. Like I said, the forest becomes a wetland. It transforms. One of the trees that you see here on a regular basis, a dominant tree, would be the cypress trees. They're very, very easy to recognize. They have wide bases, as you see. Some of them can be quite large here in the forest. And then there's these features that look like little stumps all over amongst the cypress trees, the bald cypress trees. Those are called cypress knees, and those are actually tied into the tree, believe it or not. They're part of the root system, and they're actually coming back up through the soil. And scientists don't know for sure, but it could have something to do with how the trees stabilize themselves to exist here on the floodplain. But it's certainly a prominent feature. There are areas in the park where the cypress trees are massive, and some of these knees can be 6 feet tall or higher. I think people are surprised and pleased by the solitude and the beauty that's here. If you want to walk around in the woods and experience the woods as you would in other areas, the summertime is the best time. And even on a hot day, it's pretty warm today, even on a hot day, under the canopy, it's always pretty pleasant here to visit. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking for. This is a loblolly pine. They grow really, really tall, really, really straight. And the largest known loblolly pine on Earth has been identified here in Congaree National Park. So it's pretty impressive. At one time, this was the largest, but we've actually found one that was a little bit larger. So again, an example of these huge trees that people can experience when they come to this national park. It's a pretty special place. And it's probably the last and certainly the best preserved tract of old-growth hardwood forest, bottomland hardwood forest left. And so that's important. And so our mission, our goal, is to preserve and take care of this for future generations.
A true treasure if you happen to find it, the Hampton Inn at Lake Harbison has all the amenities that you would expect from the Hampton Inn, but by being tucked away on Lake Harbison, it has the added bonus of being right off the interstate, yet being tucked away in nature for both a convenient and relaxing stay.
Welcome to our Hampton Inn on the lake at Harbison, featuring 112 rooms of one of Columbia's finest hotel, Lighthouse Award winner from the brand, outstanding quality assurance inspections, and a top-ranked hotel on TripAdvisor. We welcome guests from corporate to family, families traveling with pets, youth groups, all the way down to a tour bus. So we'd like for you to come on inside and see what we have to offer you. This is our master suite. It's one of our 3 suites that we have here on property. It has a beautiful lake view of Lake Harbison. This is the only room on the property that features its own separate bedroom. We do have a pull-out sofa if you're traveling with little ones, and an extended bathroom which features a jetted whirlpool tub and a dual head walk-in shower. This is our standard king for our property. It features a king-size bed, again the pull-out sofa. All of our rooms have mini refrigerators and microwaves, 32-inch flat screens, and a work desk. Our bathrooms feature the aerodynamic shower heads, curved shower curtain, and Neutrogena products.
If you're a Hampton Inn regular, you might have noticed they have updated their brand standards to include more modernized and aesthetically pleasing bathrooms, as well as a unique post-it program to let all guests know they have all clean linens, including the comforter.
They took a survey, and more than half of our guest pool, our customer pool, are loyal customers. They've signed up for our awards program, and they, for the most part, stay Hampton. And they didn't know. They still thought that we didn't clean the comforters. So Hampton came out with a way, and the sticky notes was a way to let everybody know, because you obviously immediately see a sticky note on your headboard and you're like, what's that? And if you're here for multiple nights, if the program's done right, they take the sticky note off on your second night, because they don't change your sheets unless you ask, until you're here for your 3rd day. And then they'll put all fresh bedding back on the bed again. And so they put the sticky note back up to let you know they cleaned your bed. This is our executive suite. We have 5 of these. It's actually one of my favorite rooms. It's just a nice oversized king room, a king-size bed, chair with ottoman, and again, that famous pull-out sofa that we have in all of our king rooms. We do have the wet bar with mini refrigerator and microwave. You get the 60-inch TV in this one, which makes it a little bit nice, and the jetted whirlpool tub with a granite countertop. So welcome to our outdoor living room. It's actually a lot of our guests' favorite spot to enjoy some of South Carolina's weather. We have the fireplace that you can enjoy in the fall, the barbecue pit if you're here with a family reunion or a corporate group, and the big TV behind me. We're also adjacent to Lake Harbison, which actually has a 7/10 of a mile walking trail with ducks and wildlife, and a lot of guests enjoy using one of our complimentary bicycles to decompress a little bit at the end of their day.
If you are not a Hampton Inn regular, or maybe the Hampton Inn is not on your list of top-ranked places to stay, we encourage you to give them a try, because here at On the Map, we give them 5 stars. On the next episode of On the Map, Robbie learns how to tie a bow tie from the famous Lucky Levinson at Britton's, and we learn about the fun, exciting craft beer scene here in Columbia. For full episodes, bonus content, and more, visit us at onthemaptv.com and follow us on Twitter at onthemaptv. For more information on Columbia, South Carolina, and all they have to offer, visit the destinations page at onthemaptv.com.